Hi, and welcome to the video on maintenance of a trumpet, French horn, baritone, or tuba, basically any valved brass instrument. Today we're going to talk about how to keep your brass instrument in good working order, and then we're also going to talk about some of the common things that go wrong with your brass instrument and how to fix those things quickly. So I'm going to be demonstrating this today on a trumpet, but I want you to keep in mind as we talk today that this applies to all the valve instruments: trumpet, French horn, baritone, and tuba. So the first thing I want to talk about today is taking good care of your valves. Now, one of the things that you should all do is you should all buy a bottle of valve oil if you don't already have one. Usually if you take good care of your instrument and you don't waste this, a bottle of valve oil is going to last you the majority, if not all, the school year. But make sure that you have one. And when you oil your valves, now trumpet and baritone and tuba, what you want to do is you want to take your valve out of the casing. So you're going to unscrew that valve, take it out. This trumpet is actually in desperate need of valve oil, so hopefully yours comes out easier than that one just did. And then we're going to take our valve oil, oops, drop the cap, and we're going to put a little bit, as I just kind of rotate it around, put it around on each side. Sometimes people will take it, sorry, a second here, I'm back. Sometimes people will take the valve oil and put it in the valve casing a little bit too, okay? But you don't need a ton. And then make sure you put your valve back the right direction. Put that valve cap back on, and we'll just work that in a little bit, okay? And then we would do that for each valve to make sure that it's in good working order. Some valve instruments you need to just oil once a week. Sometimes you might need to do it more, sometimes maybe even a little less. It just kind of depends on how much you play, how good your instrument is. So, you know, as soon as you feel like it's sticking a little bit, go ahead and put some valve oil on there, okay? Now, if you play the French horn, same thing I just said, but you're going to have, you're not going to take your valves out because you have the what we call rotary valves. They actually make, and I don't have one here today, they actually have these bottles of valve oil that have like a little thin like needle coming out of them. And you can take that and you can take off the little valve cap, the little circular valve cap, and put that needle, there's like a little hole in there, and you just put that needle right in there, just squeeze a little bit out and let it kind of soak in through that hole, and then you can put that little valve cap back on and then do what I was just doing here and just take your valve and just work that in. Your band director can get you a special French horn valve oil container so that you can do that, okay? So that's really important. That's one of the main things I want to talk about today, is just making sure that you oil your valves on a regular basis. A couple other things you can do. You can buy polishing cloths for your instruments. They're not necessary, but if you want to keep your instrument very shiny, that's good. You should all buy tuning slide grease. Tuning slide grease is something that you put on your slides here, you know, like on the main tuning slide on your trumpet, main tuning slide on the trumpet, and then all your different valve slides here, second valve slide, first valve slide. You want all those valve slides to work, and so sometimes you need to put some tuning slide grease on there. That's different than valve oil, and you should have a bottle of that too, and that will last you for like your whole life because you don't need to put it on there very often. But you want to make sure those valves work, valve slides work. So buy yourself some tuning slide grease as well. And you can also, what's good to have too is a mouthpiece brush. Sometimes every now and then, you don't have to do it every day, but once a week, a couple times a week, run this under a faucet of just some lukewarm water, maybe a little soap like dish soap, and just take your mouthpiece brush and clean that out, okay? Another thing you can do too is get one of these, what we call snakes, cleaning snakes. And I'm not going to open this right now, but maybe once a year or so, twice a year, once a year, I like to give my brass instrument a bath, and what that entails is taking all the valves out. So you take the valves out. French horn, you don't have to do that. But then you take your brass instrument and you put don't put the valves in. You can take all your tuning slides out and your mouthpiece out, and then the main part of your brass instrument, and put it into the bathtub with some lukewarm water. With a tuba, you might have to have a pretty big bathtub to make it work. But then you take two ingredients, dish soap and vinegar. Not like flavored cooking vinegar, just like regular straight vinegar. And pour that, both of those, into each section of your instrument, except don't put your valves in. And then you can take this snake and you can feed it through each section of your instrument, and then just let it kind of soak in the water for about 15 minutes. And then take it out, let it air dry on some towels on the floor, and once it's dried, you can put it away in your case. And that just keeps the inside of your instrument really clean. If you don't want to go at all that work, you can also just take it into a repair shop, maybe like in the summer, and have them do a chemical clean on it. And it's a pretty cheap deal that they can do, and just clean it all out for you. If you don't clean your instrument, it's going to start smelling, and then even gross things like mold will start growing, build up on the inside of the lead pipe and the tubes of your instrument. So you want to make sure that you keep that pretty cleaned out inside of there. So those are some cleaning tips. A couple other little quick things before I talk about some things that go wrong. Make sure that you only keep your instrument in the case. A lot of people like to store music in there. Don't do it. It'll you'll get too much music in there, your books in there, and you'll try to close the case. It'll squish your instrument, and things can go wrong. Like one thing on the trumpet that can go wrong, this little valve slide that comes out, if that gets bent in just a little bit, this valve is not going to work. It's not gonna go down. So you got to make sure that you don't do that. I know you might think it's convenient, but don't do it. Just keep your instrument in your case with your valve oil, tuning slide grease, and that's it. Keep a case tag on your case that has your name, your address, and either your phone number or email address or both, so that if you can't find your instrument, at least you know that information is on there. Let's talk about some things that commonly go wrong on a brass instrument. Sometimes the mouthpiece gets stuck, and that usually happens because either you drop it, or some people like to go like this to get the mouthpiece in. Don't do that. We have mouthpiece pullers that we can get that out with at school pretty easily. Excuse me. Another thing that happens is we get dents on the instrument. If you get a dent on the bell, or any part of this part of the trumpet that flares out to the bell, you'll probably be okay. You might want to get them out because they look bad, especially if you get a bunch of them. But if you get dents on the valve casings here, that's going to be a problem. The smallest dent, again, will prevent these from going down. So you got to take very good care of your trumpet so that you don't get dents in there. Sometimes people put the valves in the wrong casings, or they get spun around and they're not in right, and so you can't get any sound out of your trumpet at all. So that's something to check if you're getting nothing out. Sometimes spit valves break or get out of alignment, and so if that happens, you might need to get a new cork on your spit valve, might need to get a whole new spit valve on there. So those are some things that you can check on too if it's not working. And I guess those are probably the biggest things that I see. Again, just take really good care of your valves, get valve oil, have the tuning slide grease, and then just make sure you're cleaning out your instrument. One more thing for the French horn players. Since you have those rotary valves, sometimes there's a little string that keeps that whole valve mechanism working. Sometimes that string comes a little undone. A screw on there prevents the string from being wound the right way. If that happens, give it to your band director, and we can fix that. It's a little tricky, but we can teach you how to do it too. So there you go. Good luck to all of you. Thank you for watching.